All right. Hi. Good afternoon. How's everybody? Yeah, good to see you all. We're going to have a good discussion. We'll open it up and have a conversation as you have on your mind. Just to introduce you, I am the fifth Indian American congressman in the U.S. Congress. And the first U.S. congressman from the state of Michigan. And I came like a student, like some of you. It was back in 1979 when I got admission into a PhD program, chemistry, in Ohio. So I was excited, living in India in poverty and getting my first chance to come to United States to study for my PhD. I was excited. I was 24 years old, and all I needed to do was go to Mumbai, go to the American consulate, and apply for a F1 student visa. I'm the only F1 student visa immigrant who is in the United States Congress. So in those days, no appointments. You have to go stand outside of the U.S. Embassy early. So the earlier you go, the more likely you can get an interview. So I went there at 5 a.m., stand in the line, and my number was called in at 11 a.m. And right behind the window was this white American lady. Her name was Virginia, who was asking me a bunch of questions. And I studied in Marathi medium. I didn't speak very good English. And I answered her questions as best as I can. And after 10 minutes, she said, "Mr. Thanedar, I cannot give you a visa." And that really broke my heart. And I fell down to the ground, lost consciousness. And I don't know when I woke up, and there's Virginia came out of her window, standing in front of me with a glass of water, but no visa. And thereafter, I applied for 3 more times, every time giving more documents, and she kept promptly rejecting my visa. So she rejected my visa a total of 4 times. And the 5th time, I had nothing new to give, no more new documents, no more information. So I took the same package of papers that she rejected the 4th time and resubmitted it. And they said, "Come back at 4, we'll let you know." At 4 o'clock, they said, "We want to give you a visa, give me your passport." And I said, "Why did Miss Virginia change her mind?" And they said, "She has gone to America for vacation." And somebody else looked at your papers. Today, I sit on the Homeland Security Committee as the U.S. Congressman. Working on, and one of the tasks my committee has is protecting America's borders and deciding who comes in and who doesn't come in. And through U.S. Congress, I'm working a lot on our broken immigration system. As you've seen, businesses are hurting for not having enough H1B visas. Green card holders, people taking, decades to get their green cards. A lot of stress for families. We're losing talent. We are losing skilled engineers, workforce to places like Canada and Australia because our immigration system is broken. And so I've introduced several bills. One of my bill, with an advanced degree, you could get around the visa system, country quotas. I'm trying to get rid of the country quotas. And there's a lot that I'm trying to raise the number of H1B visas so that America remains competitive. America continues to keep its edge in technology and innovation and discovery as these skilled workforce make a huge difference in America's productivity and America's GDP growth. So I'm a big proponent of fixing the broken U.S. immigration policy. I'm also in the United States Congress serve on the Small Business Committee. Now, as you know, after my PhD, I started a little business that grew to about 500 employees, 65 PhDs, and I did pharmaceutical development innovation service business that I had across America. And during that business, I got Ernst & Young awarded me Entrepreneur of the Year award for 3 times during that time. And at some point, I realized that I achieved my American dream, but I need to go help others achieve theirs, because American dream is elusive. It's not accessible to many people in America. And I having achieved mine, I thought it's my job. It's not about accumulating wealth. It's about going and giving to the community that I call home. And with that thought, I decided to run for governor of Michigan, because I thought I want to be at the highest position I could get. I did not win that election, but I didn't give up. I became a state house representative, what we call an MLA in India. And then I did a lot of work in mental health, mental illness, building mental health capacity in Michigan, putting mental health counselors in high schools, and bringing one of the biggest budget for education in the state of Michigan. And now in Congress, I'm working on a number of these issues. I'm also proud to have formed the first ever Hindu, Jain, Buddhist, and Sikh caucus in the United States Congress. So I'm an unapologetically pro-Hindu. I'm unapologetically pro-India. A strong India-U.S. relationships is what I'm working on in the United States Congress. And I'm just proud to be, as an immigrant who came with nothing to this country. The country has given me so much, and I'm so proud to be able to serve my community, my district, which is Detroit, and the Michigan's 13th district is largely African American. 26% of the people are living in poverty, not enough economic opportunities, and I'm working on creating apprenticeship and small business opportunities, business ownership, promoting entrepreneurship in my community, fighting racism, and fighting for economic equity for the community in Detroit and in my district, in the surrounding areas. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for inviting me. And I appreciate if you have any thoughts or comments to help, lift up communities, underdeveloped, marginalized communities, and creating, addressing the issues of wealth gap, addressing the issues of opportunity gap, and bringing equity and justice for all. Thank you.
So you just mentioned about the Dharma Caucus.
Yes.
I was wondering if you could elaborate more, because when you announced it, you got a bit of criticism about it being right-wing nationalism.
Yeah.
Do you think that those kind of comments are Hindu-phobic, or they also criticize that you didn't have other dharmic religions part of it? Do you feel that these kind of comments, like if there was different religions involved, they wouldn't get certain criticism that you got?
Yeah, that's true. Are you able to hear me okay back there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, good. So, when I was thinking about Hindu caucus, what came to my mind was we saw the SB. Are you familiar with the SB 403? Yes. Yeah. That is just a beginning, I feel. It's just a starting to target Hindus, starting to target certain communities. We have seen incidences of hate, Hindu phobia, Hindu hate. We have seen, destruction of Hindu temples. And these kind of incidences are happening all over. When in Seattle, a young Indian girl was killed by a trooper, he made a comment, something to the effect of her life was not worth much. So the kind of phobia, the kind of hate, bigotry that we start seeing and we don't have an answer to that. Hindu community is being, and Indian communities are largely passive, largely, because that is how we were grown up, not to fight, not to hurt others, live peacefully. But sometimes living peacefully, being passive is seen as a sign of weakness, a sign of weakness that, and these attacks, when they happen, uh, there is no coordination in terms of fighting those. There is no voice in the nations on a political side of it. So we have, look, some of us had issues. Like, I grew up in poverty, and survival was an issue. Just not knowing where my next meal is going to come from. How am I going to get education? How am I going to take care of healthcare for my parents and my grandparents? So those are survival issues that many of us grew up. Then we came here, we became professionally successful, nicer homes, cars, our kids are doing well. And now what? Is that the end goal, is to have a good, nice economic life? But what about our obligation to the society as a whole? How are we going to protect our society, our children, our grandchildren? How are we going to create an environment that's fair for them, equitable for them? And so one of the reasons I decided to form this Hindu caucus is to have a national awareness and a fight. And when I formed this caucus, I was advised that this is religion, don't do this, because and this was not done by others before. So when I formed this caucus in the US Congress, 26 members of Congress joined my caucus. These are not just Indian Americans, one Indian American, but many other faiths joined this caucus. And now we have in the US Congress a body that will fight for, protect religious freedom, because we all need to have a right to practice or pray the God that we choose to pray, or not pray at all, or love a person that we want to love, live a life the way we want to live. And we need to have that freedom. And that's the purpose of this caucus.
So you mentioned about like how most Indians are very passive when they come to the U.S. and this kind of model minority thing that we have. How do we break this? Like, you were an Indian immigrant who made it big in the business world, and yet you left all that to join Congress. So how do we motivate a similar mentality in the Indian immigrant community so we can leverage that to make change in government?
Yeah, because we need to have political muscle. We need to have, sometimes I get calls from frantic Indian community from somewhere. They heard my name. Oh, my child is now become 21 years old and I haven't gotten my green card, and now he's out of status and he has to go back, or something. I always get all these issues. We have an artist coming from India and he can get an appointment for 2 years for a visa interview. So I get all kind of, or we have a young Indian person died and there are some issues about the returns of him to be taken back to India. So there's issues that happen, or the bills in California, like the S403, and that's when people start realizing, oh, I need help from an elected official. That is when people are really focused on this. Until then, people are just focused on their own life, their own home, their cars and their kids and their education and their job. But I think we have an obligation beyond all of that. And beyond all of that is, how is we going to lift the community, and what are we going to do to the mainstream?
Until it hits your family, you don't commit any action.
Yeah, and our community has so much to give. The Indian American community, with its excellence in technology, there is a technology gap. A lot of the time we see marginalized communities, African American communities, black and brown communities that don't have opportunities. And a lot of it is a lack of the technology, lack of technological skills. So if we can think of beyond our own lives, beyond our own homes, and wanting to do good for the greater community, then only we are going to be truly Americans. We are going to be truly part of this country, truly part of the US fabric.
So what do you think are the biggest issues facing the immigrant community in your district or in the US for that matter? Is it issues with H1B visas, green cards? Like what is the biggest concerns and what have you been doing to alleviate these problems?
So we're working on raising the number of H1B visas. We're trying to, the country code, as I think, is the most discriminatory factor. Where you are born must not be an issue in terms of getting green cards. And some of the people in H1B today who applies for a green card may have to wait 100 years to get a green card. And we just don't have a good system. And the last president created a lot of phobia around immigrants, and he continues to do that. And this is a country of immigrants. Our country is what we are. Our greatness lies in the fact that immigrants built this country. But today we have an environment where immigrants are bashed and they are criticized and put down and called all kinds of names. And I see that sitting in a Homeland Security Committee, I see the biases in members of Congress. And one of the things that I'm trying to do is to make them aware of the immigrants' contribution and the need for us to have a strong immigrant policy. A lot of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are focused on the southern border and the migration at the southern border. But the issues here are of legal immigrants and their plight. And without the help of legal immigrants, we are not going to keep our age in innovation and technology. We are starting to lose our skilled immigrant workforce to places like Canada and Australia. About 10,000 of our H1Bs who could not change their status have gone to Canada and Australia, and other countries are trying to get them. And this is going to be a huge loss. And I'm fighting in Congress to change those laws to create opportunities.
So what would be your guidance for diaspora communities in the US to engage more in politics? Most Indians in America, they usually stay towards the STEM fields. They don't get into humanities. As a previous speaker talked about, if you don't get into humanities, you can't really have any change in government. So what would be your advice to the Indian immigrant community and the diaspora community at large?
I think time has come now to say, what's our ultimate objective? What's our goal? And it has to be beyond just personal wealth. It has to be beyond your own life, your own family. But we need to really start thinking about greater good and doing things for the whole community. And government impacts every aspect of your life. Government is not necessarily the most efficient operation, but that is what we have to be able to make a change in people's lives. And every community needs to be an integral part of it, an integral part of this process. Often we try to stay away and say politics is not my thing, but without having that political muscle, we are not going to be able to achieve some of our goals. Without having that political muscle, we're not going to be able to address when our communities are attacked. We have racial attacks and we have issues about inequity and discrimination. We won't be able to fight that effectively unless and until we have a political muscle that we need to build this political muscle, and that can only happen through active involvement in in politics, active involvement in civic issues.
Do you feel that the Indian community at large has been forgotten by both the right and left in recent years? Either religious discrimination, etc., because we see other migrant communities are quite well represented. But it seems that the Indian community, even though they are quite large in the US, are mostly forgotten by both parties.
Well, because we need to stay active. We need to stay active. We have today some prominent members. We have a Vice President Kamala Harris of Indian origin, right? And we have several other prominent people in the politics. But Indian Americans continue to need to stay focused, stay involved, and not be ignored, forgotten, or left aside.
So what advice do you have for students aspiring to contribute to the Indian growth story or strengthen the US-India relationship?
Well, just stay involved. Just stay involved in politics. I think this is a great event. I want to thank Asha ji and for supporting and helping events like this happen. And we need to continue to bring awareness of for all of us. Ajay ji, thank you for your involvement. And we just need to continue to stay involved in politics, and continue to be active. Be active. Let our voices be heard, and not let either party take us for granted, or worst, ignore us.
So as an immigrant, and you navigated through the US systems and created many, many businesses, what advice do you have for students who want to become entrepreneurs and start, especially in this area, startups, how to navigate the American system at large?
Well, entrepreneurship is a great, it's very rewarding. You're making you're the change agents. You're making a big difference in your life as well as other people's lives. And I have taken upon myself to promote entrepreneurship across America through my small business committees. We have now made possible to get startup loans, seed capital, SBA programs. I'm eliminating red tape in SBA, so small business administrations programs can be accessed by people to start their own businesses. Particularly, I'm bringing small business services to marginalized communities like Detroit. We have seen under President Biden, we've seen highest growth in Black and brown-owned businesses, women-owned businesses. So I think it's very critical for us to be able to bridge that economic gap by promoting entrepreneurship and creating entrepreneurial opportunities. And one of the things that one of my bill is to put entrepreneurial education in high schools. We need to bring entrepreneurship into our high schools, middle schools, where people need to think owning a business as a viable career option. And once we install that in our young people, we would do better.
Yeah, this comes to the point like where, especially with Indians, you either become an engineer or doctor. So
Yeah.
This could change that mentality in the immigrant community.
Yeah, not only entrepreneurship, and also politics is a career that our young people must take on. And through our civic involvement, we're going to make the change. We need to become the change we want to make happen.
I think at this point we can open up for
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
Any questions for Congressman?
So my question is, hello. So my question is, despite having Indian leaders in positions of influence, somewhere we are still not able to move the needle when it comes to immigration. And you said, growing the political muscle. So, is it a lack of unity in our diaspora, and how do we fix it?
Well, the grassroots efforts, we need to issues that we need to, global issues, whether it is inequities, whether it is discrimination, whether it is, opportunities. We need to really be involved in local organizations. We need to give our time, volunteer our time for causes that are important to us. And through engagement at the grassroots level, we can create these awareness. So we need to really dedicate some amount of time, efforts to be politically active, engaged, to demand the change that we want to see.
Thank you.
I want to thank Congressman Shri Thanedar. He's doing a great work in supporting the immigration and bringing the bills, recent bills which you brought is there. And I think, his friend Raja Krishnamurthy, they're doing together great work as well. I just want to add that to your question, I'm on President's Advisory Commission for Asian American. We have submitted almost 7 recommendations to the President. One is that when termination of H1B people take place, there was only 60-day grace period. We have requested it to extend it to 180 days. Then the second one, which we have submitted, I've gotten it done, H1B visa stamping in US is happening now. You don't have to go back to India for H1B visa stamping. The third one is asking for EAD when I-140 is applied, not have to wait till 15 years for 485. And then the other one which we got done was student visa appointment can be taken 1 year ahead of your start date of the college. So a lot of things which Congressman will also share, that USCIS takes a lot of time to make this change, and the rule making even in this process takes almost 2 years to do that. So the government moves at much slower pace, but leaders like Congressman Shri Thanedar and others are pushing really hard for these things. But since we are not getting a full comprehensive reform, we are also looking for things which we can get done through administrative, which does not need full congressional approval. So these are some of the things which I mentioned can be done through administrative changes, doesn't need congressional approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Bayer of Cato Institute calls this H1B to green card backlog as nation-based discrimination. Only India, not anybody else. And Indian H1B workers create jobs. One person creates 2 to 4 jobs in STEM field. They get the most patents. They contribute to Social Security and Medicare, but 50% of them will die before they get any benefit. Because right now, if you're H1B and you're applying for a green card, you will have to wait 135 years before your line comes up. So nobody knows that. So the longest waits are for China and India. China is 17 years and India is over 100 years. There's no fairness. And Congress has always said, we will do comprehensive immigration reform, which in my mind is very euphemistic. So comprehensive. So now they are doing immigration reform. They are actually talking. So what can we do? Each one of you call Rokana and call your 2 senators and the senator to be, call them. It's very easy to call. You type 1 letter and it can go to everybody and can go to Biden too. So if you do that, you will at least let them hear your voice, because we are so silent. I didn't know this until I heard an NPR program where a young woman who's a college student saying she's going to be 21, she has to self-deport because her parents are still on H1B. And they've been here for decades. So, it's for our whole community. So if you're here as a student, you're now H1B, there's no certainty you're going to get anywhere, unlike other communities. They come here, they get a work permit, you can get, you can stay here. Whereas if you come here with your child and the child is now going to be 21, the child has to go back to wherever. So it's a lot of, and we do Paul Krugman, the economist, Nobel Prize winning laureate, he says, H1B visa holders are the drivers of our fiscal future. So we do a lot and we need to get the recognition for it. Thank you.
Good thoughts, Padmaji. That is really, really very critical. Yeah. Yeah, and we don't have an appetite in Congress. I hate to say this, but at this stage, there is no appetite in Congress for a comprehensive immigration reform. It's not going to happen anytime soon. We're trying to create awareness. But in the meanwhile, like Ajay, you said, there's a lot we can do through executive orders. We can do through rulemaking, and that is what we are all working together. I'm also taken a piecemeal approach. So I've taken, like there are green cards that remain unused every year. So we have a bill now that I'm co-sponsoring that will capture those unused numbers so that we could use those numbers. But ultimately, our goal has to be to get rid of the country quotas. Country quotas is one of the most discriminating thing based on a person's place of birth. And that has to be eliminated. But we're taking small steps now, either going to use this and advocating for small rulemaking, small changes that will impact hundreds and thousands of people's lives and positively impact businesses and innovation and growth. We also have a bill now that allows highly skilled people that don't have to go through the green card line. They can get their green cards maybe in a year or two. So those are kind of things that we are trying to bring, and I'm trying to build consensus among my congressional colleagues.
I think we're out of time here.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think we're out of time here. Just before we end, I do have to give you a hat. It is a red hat, but it's not a Trump hat. So if you could wear this, yeah. And you can take a picture?
Yes,
Sure, it's not a Trump hat.
as long as it's not a mega hat, right?
Yeah.